been a while. We've taken a hiatus.
Just a brief little break, one could say. It's been a minute.
I mean, the last episode we recorded together was probably it was last calendar year for sure, October maybe.
Last semester.
Yeah, we get busy. We're students,
Hey, we always made it clear that we were students first.
Right.
Don't ever say that we didn't, because we did.
But
I couldn't tell you what episode it was, though.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we like to hop on the podcast. That's why we're kicking off today's episode with a great song. That song you just heard was called Optical Wealth by this indie pop kind of electronic duo named Captain Marble. You know, Captain Crunch?
Or like Captain Sparkles, the Minecraft YouTuber.
Or like the Minecraft YouTuber, except they got the abbreviation, CAP''N.
Gotta put the apostrophe in there.
Captain Marble. Optical Wealth by Captain Marble, released in May of 2021. Great song, kind of the Tame Impala kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's totally that windows down, summer vibes. I mean,
tops off.
Like we said, big Jeep guys here, tops off.
The Jeep brothers.
Hey, you know how it is.
I've already taken the front two pieces off.
Oh, yeah, I got that brand new soft top, and so they're easy up, easy down. I mean,
the soft
simple.
top. The soft top is it's the way to go when you're not dealing with the Minnesota winter where, like, if you try and ride around with a soft top, the insulation is it's not going to keep you.
Yeah, and you get some snow on it, a little too much snow, get caught in some bad weather. And although it'd be great in the snow, your soft top would probably be ruined.
It would not work. The snow could pile up, it could cave in like the Metrodome, and no one wants to see that.
Not the Metrodome.
Especially not me or the insurance company or my dad. But welcome to Studio 313. My name is Daniel Coland, better known as Deuce on the airwaves, and I'm joined by my lovable and huggable co-host, Dylan Sash.
Oh, it's always great to be here, Daniel.
It's phenomenal to be here with you, Dylan. We're coming at you, as usual, from room 313 here in Anderson Hall, better known as the College of Journalism and Mass Communications, affectionately known as the CoJMC, right here on the University of Nebraska Lincoln's City campus. Dylan, it's fantastic to be back in the studio. We've obviously had, a fair bit of time in between our last episode and now. So kind of tell me, what's been going on with you? What's new?
Yeah, well, just like everything, we talked about it. Big in school.
Big school guy.
Big school focus, you know us. Otherwise, lacrosse is pretty busy with lacrosse.
Big lacrosse.
Huge lacrosse guy, as you all know.
Still the club president?
Technically I just finished my term after this season. We went 1-9-1. Not exactly what we were looking for the season, but let the record show that the University of Nebraska Lincoln Lacrosse Club beat Creighton.
The interstate rival.
The University of Nebraska Lincoln Club Lacrosse team has never lost to Creighton. And we're not starting this season, we're not going to start next season, and we're not ever going to lose to them.
They knocked off Creighton, and something about a Nebraska-Creighton matchup, when those two teams play, it's going to be a street fight.
It's always a street fight.
And if it's a street fight, you better start getting ready right now. Throw the records out the window when those two teams play. But you got the big win on the interstate team.
Big win, the only win that mattered.
You avoided double-digit losses. That's something.
Hey. I mean, if you look at both seasons, this season and last season, we hadn't won a game in it was like our win against Creighton was our first win in 18 games or something like that. Hey. But that doesn't matter. We're back.
A win is a win.
A win is a win.
A win is a win, and it'll be that way till the end of time. And so, school year, you got your classes and lacrosse, but what about this upcoming summer?
Yeah, this summer, a little something easy. We're going to Oregon for a little internship.
Oregon, you say?
Yeah, we're going to Oregon.
Where in Oregon? The only city I know in Oregon is Portland.
Yeah, so it's not Portland. I'm in a little coastal town called Warrenton. Little is, relative.
Right, relative to a big Portland.
Relative to a big Portland.
What is the population roughly? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I got my computer here, though, that I will look it up. 10,000 people.
10,000 people. So
it's smaller.
Yeah, not teeny tiny town, but it ain't big, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely not huge, not small by any means, but I think we'll be all right. They've got a Costco there.
They do have a Costco.
They've got a Costco.
Bare essentials.
Pretty much.
If you're going somewhere for an internship where you can't even go and pick up a 5-pound shepherd's pie, you might be cooked.
I might be cooked.
Your situation might just be so cooked it might be over. But you're up in the Pacific Northwest in the summer. I'm jealous. On the ocean, too. It's going to be pretty.
That's what I've been told. A lot of people have been telling me how pretty it's going to be, kind of what the vibe is going to be, which is, I'm really looking forward to that. Opportunities are going to be all around me. Lots of national parks, forests, things like that. Working at a production plant for fish meal. First intern to go there, which is, really exciting. Kind of daunting, but I'm always up for it. But, like the plant manager, like everybody that I've met so far, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I know. Otherwise, obviously you got to get your shine, and we got to know what you're doing. What have you been up to? Obviously, if I've been busy, you've been busy too.
Sure. Oh, trying to juggle being a student and also being a human and having a social life and time to relax. It's tough. It's strenuous, even for a business major like myself. Hey, the ABCs and counting 1, 2, 3 get kind of tiring.
You figure out how to color in between the lines yet?
Coloring 201 is really...
That's kind of kicking your butt?
Really grinding my gears. Like, 101, you learn the very basics, putting the crayon to paper. We don't put
fundamentals.
We don't put pen to paper and write essays. We put crayon to paper, marker to paper. That's just kind of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But classes have been pretty normal. I got 5 classes, 3 credit hours apiece for 15 total credit hours. You see that math? Business majors.
That's business major math right there.
We can do that mental math. I did my multiplication tables. I know that for a darn fact. Classes have been pretty irrelevant. I have taken one job working right here on UNL's campus. I have started work at a sorority house of all places.
A sorority house?
So one might ask, Daniel, what do you do at the sorority house? I'm but a measly little dishwasher. All I do is basically like any restaurant work. I kind of clean up the kitchen and wash dishes, make sure that, plates and cups and other various kitchenware properly stocked so that the girls are getting their money's worth with those live-in fees, because I know it ain't cheap. It can't be. So I've taken up that as a job. And Dome Crew. We are having one heck of a season.
Big season in football. Hey, if we want to touch on basketball, we had a good basketball game.
Basketball was rough. The ending was rough.
The ending was tough. Ending was tough, that's for sure.
But we had good moments in the regular season. And look, I will say that myself, Deuce, I am a horrific basketball player. When I get on the court, I kind of just like to run around and kind of create havoc. Just like, it's the cross.
Daniel plays lockdown defense, and don't let him tell you otherwise.
Look, occasionally I did hit a 3-point shot, and I was wearing the Dame Lillard jersey.
Watching you on the court hit that Dame time was crazy.
I hit the Dame time celebration, and we won that game by a pretty close margin. We needed that 3.
We needed that 3.
I got the 3, so I let the people know it was Dame time. But I'm really not a great hooper.
Neither am I, really.
But Dylan Sash, he's bigger than me. So
I'm big in the paint, and that's what matters.
You go hard when you're down low in the paint. And we got Trevor, Braden, and Barrett. Braden and Barrett being the very athletic twins, and Trevor's just
an absolute sharpshooter.
Just their athletic friend he's got one heck of a shot.
Yeah, he does.
They did a lot of the work. We won. Did we go undefeated in regular season, or did we lose a game or two? I don't even remember.
We went undefeated. We just had too many close games.
Yeah.
So our point differential didn't put us in the highest speed, or in the highest difference. So put us up higher in seeds.
Yes.
Which led us to our first round of the playoffs, which was it first or second round?
I think we won the first round, because that was when...
Oh, yeah, that was the game our first round we ended up only having 4 players.
Well, no, it was... I think we had 5 to start, I think. No, because I showed up late.
Yeah, you showed up late, but to start the game, we only had 4.
Yeah, that is correct.
Me, Andrew, Stodden, and then Travis.
Right.
And so then we literally, we got lucky. We got so lucky. One of the other courts didn't have a team show up. So because the team didn't show up, we had one of the refs from that team play for us.
That's
he was actually kind of a dog. He was hitting threes. He was playing real good defense. I mean, he was it was kind of funny. The number one thing that we like about Trev is he's got a good point guard presence.
Right.
He knows how to command and move and kind of make things happen.
Sure.
And so it's hard when we're without him. We really struggle in that regard.
But the ref of all people, the zebra.
The ref of all people, he knew what was up.
Big. Yeah.
And he came up big, and he kind of started doing that stuff, which allowed us to, we started the game about halftime. I think we were down maybe 5 at half. So it was a close game this whole entire way.
We came roaring back.
Yeah. After half, we started off electric. They went, a couple times down, didn't score, weren't able to really push anything. And every single time we were taking advantage, we were pushing transition.
It was a gritty game.
And I think we ended up, towards the end of it, we really solidified our win in the last 5 minutes, because at that point in time, they started getting a little frustrated, just like always. I mean, I would get frustrated too.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting beat by a team that had, at that point in time, no subs.
Got a lead going into half.
Got a lead, you lost it. So for them, or for us, I should say, it really came down to when they got upset and they were fouling us.
Yeah.
When they started fouling us, they were fouling Travis. Well, that was a big mistake, because
Don't foul Travis.
Free throw line merchant.
Yeah.
We looked at the stats.
He'll knock those down.
17 for 20 from the free throw line.
He'll knock those down at a
that's 17 free points.
17 points that they're just handing out. They're free points. And we won that first game. I think the next game we got bounced. It was a rough one. But we don't need to talk about that because we're on to football, where it is the Dome Crew 4v4 revenge tour. We went undefeated in the regular season. I was at every regular season game.
Let the record show that not only did we go undefeated, we were second in overall points for. We should have been first, but the ref didn't let us go for 3 points. He didn't let us do our conversion. If we had gone for 3 and gotten it, we would have been in first.
We would have been in the top seed, but you get a choice of 1, 2, or 3 point conversions. But we reached the mercy rule, and we were not allowed to perform one, which was rather heartbreaking. But we went undefeated. Played a real good regular season. I was not able to make our first postseason game because I had to study for a test. We're student athletes at the end of the day.
Just like we talk about.
But it don't matter. I mean, we crushed the team that we played first round.
Oh, for sure.
So now we're back on Sunday, and let me just say that the Dome Crew Revenge Tour, it's ongoing, but, I mean, it's not complete by any means.
Job's not finished.
I mean.
Job finished?
No.
I don't think so.
No, it's not finished at all.
It's not done. Not done at all.
We got a handful of games to go before we can officially put this thing to bed. So it's been, my on-campus job, which is, I mean, that's just a job to, put some money together. It's been intramural sports. Classes have been, I mean, they've been pretty regular, but I have got one campus job that kind of sparked my interest to get back on the podcasting grind and do this interview. Single game. Every single time I hear it, and I honestly thought at first it was catchy like a rash, but it's kind of grown on me. I enjoy the song, honestly, quite a bit. It's in my playlist, which not a lot of songs get that honor bestowed upon them, so I think it's a real great song. But where do they play this song? What's this job that I've taken? Well, I work for the Lincoln Stars. Now, what? Who are the Lincoln Stars?
Yeah, Daniel, tell me, who are the Lincoln Stars?
Well, let me clue you in. The Lincoln Stars are a junior hockey team that play here in Lincoln at the Icebox, which is a phenomenal name for a hockey venue. Just fantastic. They play on the former Nebraska State Fairgrounds, which is right next to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So it's a junior hockey team, but what league do they play in? Well, they play in the United States Hockey League, which consists of 16 teams kind of across the Midwestern states and kind of Great Plains area. The players are between the ages of 16 and 21. And the league, it's amateur. So former players from the USHL go on to usually play at Division I universities. They go D1 with the hopes of eventually going pro. And the Lincoln Stars have had a handful of players go pro, even one, I know for sure one, maybe a couple who have hoisted the Stanley Cup. But all in all, the Stars, they play in the USHL, and I work there as a moving camera operator. I just call myself moving camera guy colloquially, but at the end of the day,
independent film is what he does.
I'm an independent videographer because that sounds a little fancier. I sound
a real professional term.
I sound much more distinguished that way.
Uh-huh.
And my job, I walk around with a camera that I carry kind of over my shoulders, and when there's a whistle on the ice and there's a break in the action, I kind of go up in the stands and I'll record fans, and the person up in the press box will see my video, and if I get a shot of fans that they like or they're not already putting some advertisement on the Jumbotron, they'll put my crowd shot on the Jumbotron. And it's really fun because a lot of times it's got
to be like kids and stuff and things like that.
Yeah, I'm recording kids, and a lot of times it's families, and they just think it's the coolest thing ever to get on the Jumbotron. It's very rewarding. I do that, and I'll record intermission segments. They'll have people come on the ice and play tug of war. I'll record the players walking to and from the locker room in between periods. It's a real fun job, and it's kind of gotten me more exposed to sports media in general, an industry that I really want to explore. And I got very lucky because I talked to the Lincoln Stars play-by-play announcer, whose name is Joel, and I said, hey, I do a little podcast on
the side gig.
I do a little something on the side. I'm podcasting, and I would love to talk with one of the players because I had just like a lot of genuine questions about, how the league works and kind of what the day-to-day is like. I just wanted to talk to one of the guys out of genuine curiosity. I'm like, can make a podcast episode out of this.
Yeah, we could do a little something like that.
So I asked around to Joel, said, hey, I want to get one particular Minnesota guy on the podcast because, State of Hockey, we produce a lot of USHL talent. And one guy who caught my eye was a defenseman from Blaine, Minnesota named Jacob Rombach. He is committed to the University of Minnesota, and he just played his first season for the Lincoln Stars, and we're going to have him on today. We're going to chat with him, and we're going to see what's there to know about Jacob Rombach. Jacob, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I'm just getting my video on.
Beautiful. No worries, man.
Perfect.
Take your time. We've kind of been playing around with all the technology in here. We got to get this funky little Bluetooth gizmo plugged into the podcast thing so that your audio's coming through, but everything seems to be working well for now. Awesome. There he is. Well, Jacob, thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us. Can you see us both okay? I mean, the lighting is kind of
atrocious.
Yeah, the lighting is not great. Dylan's he's looking like maybe like a middle school history teacher.
That's kind of how I feel right now. I got the polo on and the khakis. It's all crazy. It's all crazy.
But, we're happy to be here with you. I'm Daniel, and this is Dylan, my lovely co-host, and this is Studio 313. So thank you for taking the time to sit down with us virtually. I know it was a busy season. We just want to open it up by just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. If you're summarizing yourself, what do you want the people to know about Jacob Rombach?
Probably that I'm an athletic person. I have two brothers from Blaine, Minnesota. Grew up playing for Spring Lake Park High School, and I'm 16 years old. Last year was my first year.
You're 16?
17, actually. I just turned 17.
Oh, my God.
So
I'm 21. Oh, my God.
I know.
I feel so old.
I do.
And I'm young.
I do feel old. Hopefully those concussions aren't setting in too quick, the 16, and then all of a sudden you're 17 in the blink of an eye. I just got to give it the business a little bit. But 17 years old, couple brothers from Blaine, Minnesota, obviously an athlete, and you played hockey for Spring Lake Park originally in high school. But kind of what led you to pursue a career in the United States Hockey League? What led you that direction?
What led me was probably the competition. Going against bigger, stronger, faster players is what you need to help develop yourself. And I thought I was ready to make the jump from high school to the USHL. And I thought this year was a great development year for me.
It is a real competitive league. And your first season in the league, and you started I don't have the exact number in my head how many games you started, but you played nearly every game this season. I believe there were 62 games you played in. 58 or 59, I believe, the number? 59. 59.
Yeah, he's got some stats on lock. I'm sure he knows everything he's ever done.
I did a little preparation. But USHL kind of getting into the draft,
Yeah, so obviously first round selection, so obviously the Stars thought you were a pretty athletic kid and you were ready to go compete. Kind of tell us, what was that draft process like, especially since, you as at the time, would you have been 16 then too?
Yes, I just turned 16 right before the draft, so I didn't really have any communication with Lincoln before the draft, actually. So it was just when I went to 40-man, so like the development camp for the USA team, so the
Mhm.
NTDP and the USHL.
Sure.
I would say that's got like all my exposure to all the USHL teams. Went to the draft, just waiting for my name to get called, I guess.
And so do they do kind of like, is it very similar to like an NFL style where they bring you all to one place, or is it all through a phone call? Like how does that work for you?
It's all through a phone call. So yeah, you're just waiting at home, watching the list, seeing if you're gonna get picked, and then once you get picked, you get a phone call saying, yeah, we just drafted you, and like all of that.
So really, you had you could have gone either way. Like if you just had never gotten a call, you wouldn't have ever been drafted. Like, is there like a free agency for this as well? Can you get picked up like middle of the season, kind of like you can here?
Yeah, I think there's like a rule in the USHL. You gotta play 10 games to be, if you're not drafted, to like end up like being a draft pick. So you're not a draft pick, but if you play 10 games, like the team gets your rights.
Gotcha.
Interesting. I feel like there's a lot to it, and I mean the league obviously isn't like, it's not nationally popular everywhere, but it's got a good bit of it's picked up a bit of steam in the Midwest kind of Great Plains area. But one thing I kind of want to touch on is your experience with that USA and that USA development team. So you played in the U17 Five Nations tournament. How did you land that spot? How did you sort of find your way to Team USA?
Well, first you had to go to Buffalo and then compete against all the other 07s in the country, and then they whittled it down to about 40 guys to play in like a so-called all-star game.
Right.
And then from the all-star game, they bring you into a room and then they just call your name off. And luckily, I was able to get my name called off and made the team.
That's fantastic. And you played a lot of games. I mean, it's national competition. So was there anything different kind of playing against national teams versus just, playing here in the USHL? Any styles of play different, or was it relatively similar to what you'd see here?
I would say the biggest difference was obviously younger guys. Like since it's only U17, obviously the guys aren't as developed, not as big and strong as what everyone is in the USHL. So
sure,
making it step from like the Five Nations to the USHL was a big step.
Right. So you'd say that the USHL certainly a step up from those national teams.
You keep saying like bigger and stronger. Just so I get a size reference here. What are you weighing in at? Like how tall, size, weight? Like do you find yourself on the larger end, smaller end?
Probably in the middle, because my height, obviously, I'm 6'5", 6'6", and then I'm like 185. I'm trying to get that up to like 195, 200.
Well, let me tell you, I'm moving cam guy for the Lincoln Stars, but I like to say I'm an independent videographer because that sounds better. But I'm moving camera guy, and when I stand at the end of the tunnel catching the shot of them walking back, they're all bigger guys and they're on skates, so they're all like kind of tall. But Rombach, he looks like a force, and that's kind of just how those defensemen come built. Typically, they're a little bigger from what I've seen. Does the name Derek Bugard ring a bell?
No, it does not.
That was the Minnesota. He played for the Minnesota Wild, and like when I was a pretty little kid, and he was a big 6'7". He was a bruiser defenseman. He constantly got into fights. He would brawl with people. Like pretty much every game he was throwing hands. And sometimes those defensemen, they kind of need to. They got to set the tone. If guys want to get chippy, which a lot of those games that I've watched, a lot of them get chippy. You got to set the tone and let the other team know, hey, we're not going to let that slide, personally. Aside from the games and the style of play, I mean, being in the USHL, it's a pretty big adjustment. I mean, you go from living in Minnesota to living in Lincoln with a billet family. So how does the process of finding a billet family work, and how much time do you spend at that home during the season?
So during main camp last year, they told me I was going to be living with Patty and Joe Johnson, so I knew who I was most likely going to be living with.
Mm-hmm.
But they just assign you to a house, basically, and then if things don't end up working out, you can communicate with the coaches and the staff to get things switched out. But yeah, my living situation was great.
That's awesome, man. So if something's not working out, they have like other homes or families kind of ready to take players in?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that works out well. So for you, when let's say, you're in season, obviously a very busy time, like what's your like average pretty much like day-to-day routine looking like? Because I know you guys are pretty intense with practice, obviously traveling too, but on top of that, like at some level you're still a high school student. You just said you're 17. Maybe talk us through that, how you're kind of handling both sides of that for us.
So on a regular day during the week, we get to the rink around 9 o'clock. Get a quick dyno, tape your sticks. Then we watch a little bit of video before we hop on the ice, and then run the ice probably an hour, maybe to an hour and a half. But since we own our rink, we don't have to share with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
We get free ice after to stay on and work on what we need to work on, and then.
When you've got that free ice time, are you, let's say, do you end up doing a lot of things like coach suggested things, or is it more like free time, kind of like a mix of both? Because I know for our players, I'm the president of the lacrosse club here, and so when we get that free field time, most of our players just kind of want to mess around, but then there's a handful of them that are taking it serious, footwork drills, shooting on the run, kind of things like that. So is it kind of a mix of both for you guys?
Yeah, a mix of both. Obviously, you want to work on your weaknesses and your strengths. So then, obviously, you gotta have a little bit of fun out there sometimes too. Maybe do some shootouts after. But for me, it was like walking the blue line after practice, working on my puck control. So yeah, a little bit of both.
What would you say is the biggest part of what's the strongest part of your game, and what's like the weakest part of your game that you've kind of been looking to improve? Because I didn't know a lot about hockey.
Yeah, I got nothing going on that besides the enforcing side of stuff.
And there's still plenty I don't know about hockey. I mean, if you asked me before I started working with the Stars, I would have told you that, icing, that's what you put on a cake. I didn't even know what that kind of stuff was. So I'm still learning, but I'm sure there's a lot that goes into the game. So what's something that you do very well, and what's something that you don't do as well that you've kind of worked to improve?
I would say my vision is one of my biggest strengths. So like on regroups, trying to find the forward, stretching the zone. And then one of my weaknesses is probably like my strength, to get my strength, get a little bit stronger, knock guys off the puck a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then my shot too.
Gotcha. Vision definitely makes sense being 6'5". I'm sure you're seeing over everybody out there. Really hard to not be able to see when you're standing over the crowd.
Yeah, and hockey moves so fast. It's like plays can develop just like that. There was one game that I was working at where I think there were literally 2 seconds on the clock, and I was like waiting at the end of the tunnel to get the shot of the guys coming back, and at end of the period. And before that 2 seconds was up, a goal was scored. I wish I could remember what game it was, but God, it's quick. It's a quick sport. Which game?
I remember that.
Which game was it?
I think it was Sioux City, one of those games. Kai Jangria scored with like 2 seconds left.
Yeah, it was one of those Sioux City games. Sioux City was a very common foe, at least at games that I was working at. There were 3 regular season games that I worked when you were playing Sioux City at the Icebox, and the 2 just those 3 games against Sioux City. And that was who, after you guys knocked off Waterloo in the best out of 3, you were knocked off by Sioux City in the postseason. Kind of tell me what the kind of the postseason feel was like. I mean, the arenas are a little bit emptier than, honestly, the Icebox was a little emptier in postseason than it was in the regular season. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people just didn't even realize the game was happening. Like, sometimes it's tough to get the word out, but kind of, I mean, what does Coach tell you guys when, it's the end of the season, you guys have been away from home a long time, 62 games. How does Coach Rocky make sure that you guys are like laser focused and, make sure that you guys don't get burned out or fatigued?
Mostly staying mentally focused and driven. That's because you can't be thinking about going home. It's always in the back of your head, but you can't be thinking about that because then it's going to start taking over, and then
I think
just staying mentally focused.
As a team, it's still that collective focus. I mean, you guys are going. It's the Clark Cup. Is that correct? That's what you guys compete for?
Yeah.
It's that Clark Cup. I mean, just for anybody. I mean, you want to win games. That's why you're playing the sport. Not only because you love it, but because it feels great when you win. But on top of that, I mean, if you could win it all and you take home the trophy, I mean, what's more than that? Like, that's what you're competing for.
Now, look, obviously you're a Lincoln Star, and we love you that way. That's how we want.
We do.
That's how we want you to be for the time. But you can't help but kind of think about the future of your career, because you will be going to the University of Minnesota.
Big Minnesota guy right there. How did that process kind of come through? Because obviously, 16, 17 years old, you're kind of doing that whole deal. You finally hit that point. Because same rules apply. Can't be talked to by like coaches and things like that, right? Just like for football and everything else.
Yeah, until like a certain time.
A certain time frame. So what's that process look like for you? Did you kind of have the goal in mind? Obviously, home state, probably pretty close to mom and dad back home. Family obviously makes a big impact for you. What was that kind of process like when looking at colleges and things like that?
For me, I was open to going anywhere, just the best school that fit me personally. But during the decision, I decided to take my time and visit schools from Quinnipiac. I went there for a visit, but I also took some visits closer to home, and obviously Minnesota felt right, so decided to commit.
Up in the Northeast, man, they take hockey. Hockey's pretty serious up there. I mean, Minnesota's a state of hockey, and it'll stay that way. But man, it's nasty up in the Northeast.
For you, obviously, I know a lot of coaches in high school talk about being a dual sport athlete, but still having like a primary focus. Did you play any other sports that you feel like really helped prepare you for hockey, or maybe some different situations, kind of things like that?
Yeah, I grew up playing baseball until 9th grade, and then once I hit 9th grade, I was like, I need to start focusing more on hockey, weight training. So at that point, I switched to hockey only to start getting stronger, because in the spring you would be playing another sport and you wouldn't really be focusing on hockey that much. So like, it's good to play on 2 sports growing up, but then I feel like it's best for you once you hit like high school or that range to narrow it down to like one sport that you're really passionate about, and then put everything into that.
Gotcha. Be honest with me. Were you hitting nukes, middle school up until 9th grade?
I was more of a doubles guy.
Oh.
I was really hitting home runs. I was mostly hitting doubles.
Did you have an egregious double celly?
No, not really. Maybe once in a while.
Once in a while? Gotcha. Hey, he's a respectful gentleman out on that baseball diamond.
Sometimes it's just about getting on base. I play a little intramural softball, and look, my batting average, I think I've only played like 2 games. I'm 1 for 4. I'm not gonna lie.
That doesn't count.
I'm not great on the on home plate, but hey, anything on base, like I got teammates who are just single merchants. All they'll do is just kind of plop one out to like barely in the outfield. But hey,
backside singles?
Yeah, a single's a single. Getting on base, that's something.
This guy gets it. Chicks dig OBP.
Indeed, they do. Now, I mean, you're still 17 years old, like we've mentioned a couple times. Now, living with the Billet family, out of state, what does your high school education look like? That's one of the biggest questions I have. I was wondering what you guys kind of do for school.
I'm still through my Spring Lake Park High School, so I was lucky. They let me do online since my address is still in Blaine, Minnesota, but go to Spring Lake Park. So they let me stay online as long as my parents still lived at the house.
That's sweet.
That's lucky, yeah.
I feel like not every player gets that arrangement, I'm sure. Are any guys like homeschooled, or do they do like with the Billet families, or do they kind of get some other online alternate program?
I think it's the Nebraska online schooling. That's what most of the other guys do.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to go to Spring Lake Park to be able to graduate with my friends.
Right. No, that's the way to go. I mean, you want to be able to kind of be around just your hometown. I mean, you're a hockey player and you're certainly trying to make it far, but you still got to be just a teenager. And hopefully, will you get like a graduation ceremony? Like when.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
But he's still walking the stage,
because
getting the diploma, flipping the ballot or whatever it's called.
Because our classes, 2021, we got a graduation, but
it wasn't anything special.
No, it was weird. Like, at least we got something. The class of 2020 really got screwed, but it was not great. So glad you still get the online school from home is a sweet deal.
Yeah.
But kind of going back on the track of just playing hockey, what would you say, who's the biggest coaching impact you've had so far? I know, obviously, I'm sure Coach Rocky is very knowledgeable, but were there any coaches in your, earlier childhood that really inspired you to keep pursuing sports seriously? Maybe not even hockey, maybe a baseball coach. Were there any ones besides Rocky, or maybe Rocky is by far top dog?
Yeah, obviously Rocky is.
Yeah.
He taught me a ton, but another coach was Tate Johnson. He was my AAA coach growing up, and he really gave me the passion to keep going, gave me opportunities that I didn't really have before, and watched me develop through the years.
Was your dad a hockey player? Is that kind of where the foundation came from for you?
No, I'm the first hockey player in my family.
That was going to be a good follow-up question. So are your brothers playing hockey? Are they following in the footsteps at all?
My younger brother, he's playing hockey and baseball, following in my footsteps. My older brother, he didn't really play any sports. He was an Eagle Scout and is at NDSU right now.
Okay.
Well, it's a family of high achievers is kind of what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing too.
What I'm understanding.
So real question is, should we be watching out for your younger brother? Is that Rombach family name going to be a legacy going on?
Is he next up?
Are you the next Gretzky's?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Hey, only one way to get there. Just keep putting that work in and day out. This season has come to an end. Regular season, you guys were in the postseason. You pulled the upset on Waterloo, sweeping them in that best out of 3 in Waterloo, Iowa. And unfortunately, the season came to an end in Sioux City. So what's the process of getting ready for next season look like? When will you be back down in Lincoln? And when does practice resume? And does practice lead right into the regular season, or is there kind of a gap in between there to rest?
So first, I think at the end of June, we have a main camp, so that's where they start picking the team for next year. They grab a couple more extra guys to bring to training camp in the fall at September. So you go to main camp in June, they pick the team, add a couple more guys to fill up spots, and then you go to training camp in September.
Sure.
And then for 1 month in September, it's just 2 practices a day on the ice, and then getting ready to show them what you can do and get a final spot going into Pittsburgh showcase.
So June is the kind of the initial camp, and then you come back later in September where you show them everything you got. It's all hands on deck until the Pittsburgh showcase. So I mean, dang, June. It's quick. I mean, it's May already.
Is it right at the beginning of June you kind of come back and swing into it? End of June. So you get a nice little breather back home, hang out with the family. I'm sure all the friends are glad that you're back.
Yeah.
But before we know it, it's going to be 2024 to 2025. I'm already pumped for next season. I think that.
Are you going back?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I might be on the moving cam, but I also might do a little of the other production. Working the big jumbotron up there that they got, or working they do some replay cameras because if there's a goal or a big hit or a big brawl, which is always fun to watch, they'll throw those up on the board. But
are you finding yourself in any fights?
Any scraps?
Not this year, but I'll have to get in a couple next year.
Hey, he's keeping his hands clean, so he's welcome back. But next year it's full force.
I mean, look, the strength training, you say you want to knock guys around the ice and be able to kind of leverage your way to the puck when it gets jammed up in the corner. But I think part of it is if someone gives you the business, I mean, you got to let them know. I think one question I think this could be our kind of final question. If I really just got one more. I just want to know, so far, this could be from when you're 7 or 8 years old or currently with the Lincoln Stars. What's been your favorite moment on the ice and why?
Wow, that's a tough question.
It is a toughie.
One of them was probably when I was younger, winning a Triple Crown tournament, just going up against some top competition, and obviously coming out on top.
Right.
And then another hockey moment. Getting my first USHL goal, that was big.
When did that come from? What game?
Give us the replay on that. How'd you end up there?
Yeah, walk us through it.
It was against Fargo. I think it was we were
Fargo's
home, second
dust.
game. It was in the third period. Ended up being the game-winning goal because they ended up scoring after that. So I think it was Keats. He came around the back of the net. He went low to high to me, and then there was like eight guys in front of the net. I just shot it and ended up going in.
So, screening the goalie. I think goalie is a tough position.
Gotta be hard.
I mean, that puck is so small, and when guys start screening you in front of the net like that, it's rough. Luckily, man, Showstack, our goalie, was huge in the postseason to get us past Waterloo. I think that's all.
I think that's all. I mean, not necessarily like you have to. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about specifically, or anything like any last showcases?
No, just getting ready for next year. Hopefully, we can end up winning a Clark Cup next year.
Hey, this guy's right. We're on to it. We're on to something special.
The Clark Cup is what it's all about. You know, Jacob, thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us. It's good to just talk hockey because with the Stars season being over, I miss it.
And a lot of the fan base being from Minnesota, I mean, they've got their background in there as well. I'm sure a couple of the listeners might be hometown friends, heroes, something like that to you. We do appreciate you coming on here and giving us an opportunity.
Thank you for inviting me out.
Absolutely.
Of course.
We'd love to have other players on sometime next season. So hey, I'll be in touch if that's all right with you, and we'll sort something.
Maybe after the Clark Cup next season, we can get you back on here. Maybe we can get you in the studio, have it a little more formal this way.
Yeah, a little victory lap, victory tour, if you will. But Jacob, thank you very much for taking the time. You have yourself a good night and enjoy being home until June. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
And that was Jacob Rombach.
Jacob Rombach, what a kid, honestly. First off, the fact that he was 17 I was looking at that 07 birthday, and I didn't think anything of it until he goes, oh, yeah, I'm 16. Well, actually, I'm 17. Yeah, and I was like, holy smokes.
It's kid. Crazy. And let me tell you, they're big dudes, like a 17.
Well, it's crazy. My sister is 17.
Yeah.
And this kid's 6'5". My sister's like 5'5".
Yeah, right. And you know, it's a guy and a girl. It's different, but still.
It's a little different, but still.
A whole foot is insane. And there's a lot of talent in the USHL, let me tell you. It's a really good league for, you know, up-and-comers. I believe I don't know what the exact number was, but it was like an absurdly high percentage of players have Division I commitments. A few of them will end up going pro. Around the ice box, there's posters of players who have, you know, hoisted the Stanley Cup. A couple have who've been former stars. And the atmosphere of the games is so much fun. It's a joy to work, and it's kind of I want to do more around the whole sports media field and just kind of dive deeper in there and kind of just see what the field has to offer.
Of course.
But that's all for today, Mr. Sash. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. I know it was a little longer wait than some would have liked.
We're sorry. We're trying to get better at it. We're going to get better at it.
I remember when I started, I said we were going to do this every week.
Oh, it was every week, and then it was, hey, when we get busy, we're students first, and then we got a little too student focused.
I think we got to be podcaster students instead of student podcasters.
Student athlete podcaster. That's what I am.
There you go. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been Studio 313. Have a lovely evening.
Oh, baby.